Welcome to our presentation about the monopoly of Luxottica. So we chose to analyze the market definition, the main features of the demand side and competitive structure, and finally, the pricing of the company.
This presentation will illustrate how the market structure of the eyewear industry has allowed Luxottica to become a price maker. Moreover, how it has developed into a profit-maximizing monopolistic firm. If we look at the numbers, Luxottica is a private company that controls over 80% of the major eyewear stores in its 114.9 billion global industry, according to Statista, which gives them a completely unfair advantage over other small companies. The corporation produces over 93 million pairs of sunglasses and optical eyewear and gains over $4 billion in revenue, according to their official website.
So moving on to explain the characteristics of Luxottica's monopoly. Obviously, monopolies are often seen as something bad for the economy because of the price fixing, declining product quality, loss of innovation, and the inflation they cause. But they're often essential. And Luxottica is a price maker. The firm is able to make their own prices, lowering and higher them at wish. And there's no set market price to follow, like in perfect competition. They have high barriers of entry, so in their case, making a profit, this protects them from other competitors joining the market. Their price is higher than the marginal cost. This is also due to the barriers of entry, and this makes them allocatively inefficient, and the market output is hence smaller than the social optimum level of output. They're productively inefficient. This is because the firm produces at a higher average cost than the minimum average total cost, and the firm does not use its resources at the maximum efficiency. Finally, their types of product is very unique. They have very few substitutes in their market and competitors as well. The next slide, here we have the three scenarios of profit, losses, and shutdown, and Luxottica sit at the price, so on the one on the left, where obviously MR equals MC and matching it with the demand and hence the price, and the difference between where the intersection between MR, MC at the demand to where average total cost meets MR, MC, that difference is the profit made by Luxottica. The same works with the loss, and the shutdown is when they're not able to cover average variable cost like in perfect competition. Moving on to the price elasticity of demand, as we can see from the graph, an increase in production by a monopolist has two opposing effects on revenue: the quantity effect and the price effect. The price effect hits at quantity of 50 million in this case and takes over the quantity effect after that. And before 50, that's where the quantity effect took over the price effect, basically. So, as we can see, we must take into account the effects that price changes on revenue in order to understand where we must produce and at what price. The demand for the firm's output is equal to the market demand, in this case being a monopoly. And using the PED formula, we find out that the percentage change in quantity is bigger than the percentage change in price for Luxottica. So should Luxottica just price at 100 and produce 50 million sunglasses, as we can see on the graph above? No, because although that would maximize profits, if the revenue is rising and the costs are rising by more, it is not beneficial. Hence, we must look at the marginal cost and marginal revenue in order to understand where we should produce. This brings us to the slide of the revenue maximization. So a quick note is that often profits is not maximized in order to gain market share and high revenues. It's something that Luxottica has done in the past to gain such a high market share, which it now has. But now in this case, it is different. As we can see now, we added the marginal cost downward sloping curve to our graph. And we can see it intersects at the quantity of 30 million sunglasses at a price of 80. But the consumer is willing to pay up to 140. So Luxottica will obviously charge the price as high as it can and reach eventually very close to, if not 140, to maximize the profit. Basically, governments always wish to regulate monopolies to protect the interest of consumers. And this is something that obviously Luxottica has to take care of and consider. And these regulations are often price capping, price capping, regulation of mergers, breaking up monopolies, investigation into cartels and unfair practices, and also nationalization, which is done through the government ownership.
On this slide, we will take a look at the customer profile for the Luxottica products and the demand for those products as well. Luxottica has very high-priced products that are also very high quality. Therefore, they're directed or targeted at high-earning consumers with a high disposable income. The consumers have an age structure of around 24 plus years old, as they have to be able to already have a high-earning job to spend around 250 to 300 euros on sunglasses or eyesight glasses. This type of consumers has to be relatively inelastic in terms of demand towards price, since they seek for high-quality products and do not mind spending more money on a desired product that they want to buy. Moving on to demand. The main factor that affects the demand for sunglasses is the current trend of fashion and the season that guides it. The sunglasses are used to match outfits, and depending on the current fashion trend and season that comes with it, the demand for sunglasses will change. Such demand is cyclical, since sunglasses usually require good weather, sunny weather, and therefore the choice to buy them is heavily guided by the season that the decision is being made in. However, the other type of glasses is glasses for eyesight, and here the story is a bit different. The demand for this type of glasses is not cyclical, but rather stable throughout the year.
So in this slide, we showed the competitive structure of Luxottica and all the potential competitors that could be dangerous for the company, but actually are not. So the first competitor, which is the most harmful, let's say, is Safilo, which possesses the 6% of all sunglasses sales in the US, and also sells important brands like Dior, Hugo Boss, and others. And as we can see on the right, we decided to bring a graph about the revenues in 2018. These are real numbers, and as we can see, Luxottica earned almost 8 times more than Safilo, which is the first competitor, so would be the most harmful for a company, and then all the others, but are really harmless for Luxottica. So Luxottica is the company that we chose for the application of the theory for monopoly. The firm was created in 1961 by the Italian owner Leonardo Del Vecchio, and today the company is headquartered in Milan, Italy. Luxottica is an Italian eyewear company, and it's the world's largest firm in this sector. Recently, in January 2017, Luxottica announced a merger with Essilor, which is a French optics company. The two industries would command more than 25% of the global sales of eyewear. Instead, on the 1st October of 2018, the new holding company Essilor-Luxottica was born, resulting in combined market capitalization of approximately 57 billion euro. On this slide, what you can see on the left is a list of all the firms that are supplied by Luxottica. Instead, on the right, there are all the collaboration that the firm has with famous brands, like for example Armani, Bulgari, Burberry, and many others. So now we identify the market definition. So starting with the value chain, Luxottica's secret for success is the vertical integration of manufacturing, which was gradually accompanied by the expansion of distribution, starting with the wholesale and later on with retail, and finally a key presence in the high value-added business of lens finishing. The oversight of the entire production process, from design to distribution, gives the company a unique understanding of consumers' trends and tastes. Moving on to competitors, Luxottica controls 80% of the major brands in the 28 billion global eyeglass industries. Of course, it's a monopoly, but we can still find some substitutes and competitors, like the ones cited in this slide, especially now whereby Parker, which is an online sales room for glasses, is putting up some competition, but it's still really low and it's not gonna affect for sure the sales of this company. Talking about geography, Luxottica has 6 production facilities in Italy, 3 in China, 1 in Brazil, 1 facility in the US, and more than 9,000 retail centers all over the world. So we can't really say that Luxottica is a natural monopoly, since it doesn't have economies of scales. As you may see from the photo taken from the 2018 financial report of Luxottica, the company incurs huge cost of production in order to keep the high level quality of the products, but also for the taxes imposed by the government to keep the firm under control. So in this photo, indeed, we can see that the initial revenues were around 16,000 millions, but at the end, the net profit is around 2,000 millions. So it has huge cost of production and costs due to taxes imposed. Finally, this diagram shows the monopoly of Luxottica, which is a price maker, of course, because it's a monopoly, meaning that it can set the price of its good near the highest amount that the consumers would be willing to pay for them. On the other hand, since it's a regulated monopoly, the government plays an important role by imposing a few restrictions on the prices imposed on the clients and on the quantity supplied, closer to the potential equilibrium. Each year, Luxottica writes a report about the code of ethics in order to control and check that the economy doesn't take too much of the whole market of the eyewear.
Luxottica's pricing. Since Luxottica operates in an industry where the product can be differentiated and where a brand image can be created, Luxottica is able to govern its own price. As a matter of fact, they're able to produce at a profit maximization point where MC is equal to MR, allowing them to produce at a lower quantity but at a higher price. Consumers will continue to buy their products due to high inelastic demand and to the high market share governed by Luxottica's brands. Consumers will, in fact, be worse off due to the decrease in the consumer surplus shown in the graph on the right. When looking to price ranges, we can see how the prices of Luxottica's brands are very high. For example, Ray-Ban has a price that varies between 150 and 300 euros. Oliver Peoples can reach a price of 500 euros. But Luxottica governs the whole market. In fact, it has brands such as Vogue Eyewear that has prices between 50 and 150 euros. It is very interesting how Oakley is now able to survive as a company with these lower prices when compared to Ray-Ban, as they have a very similar cost of production since the quality of the product is very similar. Luxottica, Oakley in 2007 was initially self-owned and was competing against other Luxottica's brands. However, due to high cost of production, Oakley wasn't able to survive and was operating at a loss, and was eventually bought by Luxottica in 2007. The graph clearly shows how, due to more inelastic demand, and especially for a low average total cost, Ray-Ban was able to cut prices when necessary and lose a small amount of output, and at the same time operate at a very low ATC. However, by having a higher cost of production and therefore average total cost, Oakley was in the long run first to shut down and was eventually bought by Luxottica.
To conclude, Luxottica is the largest firm in the eyewear sector. They currently hold more than 25% of the world's sales. Their market demand for the good is the quantity demanded for the firm because of price leadership, and their price is set at their profit maximizing point where MR equals MC. They have a competitive advantage due to cost leadership in the market.